friend of mine once said to me, a wall has been constructed between blacks in America and the African past that separates us, keeps us really disconnected from our roots across the sea. In a place like Salvador Bahia, that wall doesn't exist. Officially, culturally, in everyday life, the African past of this country and the people who came here as slaves is very much a part of the tapestry of life. And that's one of the things that makes Bahia and Salvador in Bahia one of the blackest places in the world. This is Nelson George from BlackAtlas.com. Welcome to Bahia. I'm standing in a square which is known, you can see the sign back me, Rio de Jesus, which more or less means land of Jesus. It's a square here in Pelourinho, which is the historic center of Salvador. Buildings here go back at least, 1500s, 1600s. Nowadays, it's a center of craft, there's parties, there's restaurants. So it's definitely a huge tourist spot. The history of it also relates somewhat back to slavery. And slavery was one of the main engines of commerce here. Sugar plantations were a part of what drove the economy of Bahia in general. Slaves started coming in here and were imported in huge numbers. In fact, there was some statistic that about 30 to 35% of all the slaves brought from Africa to the New World were brought to Brazil. And in fact, Salvador was the central port. So the majority of slaves in Brazil came through here and either stayed here or were shipped to other parts of the country, which is why the African culture here is so powerful and so accepted. Not far from here at the Largo, which is a square a couple of blocks away, there's a whipping post where slaves were whipped in public and disciplined. So slavery is an integral part of the history of Salvador and Bahia in general, and it's one reason why African culture is so powerful here. I don't want to make the speech all about doom and gloom, but that richness that we have now in Bahia is a byproduct of the years of slavery that were here before. I am hot. I am in Salvador, Bahia. I'm at Sorriso da Dada, which means the smile of Dada. Dada being the owner, proprietor of the restaurant who you just saw an image of. The cuisine here is very much influenced and very much inspired by the kinds of foods that African slaves ate here and created here to sustain themselves. And it's lived on and become part of the national cuisine here in Brazil. So in between the sweat drops, we're going to have a little food. The late, great Michael Jackson's best videos were shot here on the streets of Salvador, Bahia. It was directed by Spike Lee. It was for They Don't Care About Us, and it featured the House Olodum, which is a drumming school, drumming academy here in Salvador. Casa de Olodum is the House of Olodum. You can hear the music coming out the store. If you remember that video, you remember the incredible drumming in it, and you remember Spike directing it. It was an amazing piece. Great connection between Black American culture and Brazilian culture. For folks who come to Salvador in search of understanding Afro-Brazilian culture, there's a more important place in the Museum of Afro-Brazilian Culture here in Salvador. It's got artifacts going back to the days of slavery. There's a room dedicated to the Orishas. It's a beautiful old building, used to be a medical center. It's been open since 1982, and it's a central location for anyone who wants to explore the African roots here in Brazil. Okay, we're in the room of the Orishas here at the Museum of Afro-Brazilian Culture. The Orishas are a big part of culture. They're very much celebrated here in Brazil alongside the Catholic saints. And they all represent, for those of you who know, different days of the week, as well as different aspects of personalities and different aspects of life. This is amazing work. The artist, Caribe, is very beautiful. I mean, and it's interesting, the works, they're wood carved and they're amazingly big, quite striking and beautiful. And there's many other aspects to this museum, but to me, this seems to be the most powerful expression of the respect that's given to African culture, and respect that you won't find in the United States, for example. If you're going to do research on Afro-Brazilian culture, or you just want to come and really understand more about it, this museum is a great place to be. I'm in the courtyard in the middle of it, and I'm very happy. And it's really a beautiful space worth visiting when you come to Salvador. On a Sunday afternoon in Salvador, Bahia, everyone goes to beach clubs. Families, men and women, men in Speedos, women in very skimpy outfits that reveal the bundas. But it's really a relaxed, beautiful thing. I mean, great food, great music, and just a nice vibe. Place to be on a Sunday in Bahia. It's a beautiful sunset. It's just gorgeous here. I'm looking out over the Bay of All Saints. You can see down in the distance is a famous fort. Below me is a market, which is a very busy market. And there's a long line of people gathering together to go on this giant elevator that takes them down to what's called downtown, where the market is, where the bay is, and where there's a lot of restaurants. One thing I can definitely say about Salvador on my first day here is that people here are really in love. I've seen so many couples making out in the park, more than I see in New York. It takes maybe in May in New York, but I mean, people are kissing up, and you'll see double, like you'll see a bench and you'll see 3-4 couples in a row, and they're all snuggled up and whispering sweet nothings into each other's ears. So, they say the French are lovers, but these Brazilians got it going on, I'm telling you. Saturday night here in Bahia. I'm about to go into the Madre nightclub. I'm going to see some band, hear some music, maybe have a caparina. Check me out. I've had a great time here in Bahia. I've seen historic sites with full of black history. I've seen great dancing, great food. I just came out of an incredible club here, Madre. Bahia is a place that, if you're a visitor, if you're interested in black culture, if you're interested in black fun, Bahia is definitely a place that's got to be on your list. This is Nelson George from BlackAtlas.com. I'm going to catch you in the air.